Welcome to the Deep Thought Podcast. We are going to be exploring a really unique method today
Okay.
for tackling all those big to-dos
Yeah.
and actually achieving your goals.
Mm-hmm.
And it's inspired by Eastern philosophy. So,
Interesting.
think of it as like a really powerful way to kind of quiet that mental noise.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and finally, focus no matter how much is on your plate.
Yeah.
The method, we're calling it the Lotus Method for now, comes from a popular YouTube video that breaks this whole approach down into like 5 key parts.
What I think is so fascinating about this method is that it really speaks to that, that universal struggle.
Right.
We want to reach those goals, but we so often get stuck in procrastination or even self-doubt.
Yeah, it's almost like we get in our own way sometimes.
Yeah.
The video uses this character named Gohan,
Right.
and he perfectly embodies that struggle.
He does.
He's totally motivated, but then those feelings of resistance pop up.
Yeah.
And that's when things get tricky.
It is incredibly relatable.
Yeah.
The video actually compares the human mind to a wild monkey
Oh.
that's constantly seeking comfort and distraction.
Okay.
Think back to the last time you had a really challenging task ahead of you.
Uh-huh.
Did your mind immediately start looking for an escape route?
Oh, yeah.
Like checking social media or needing to suddenly reorganize your desk?
Absolutely. It's like my brain wants to do anything but the things I need to do.
Right.
So how do we break free from this like monkey mind trap? Is
Yeah.
that where this Lotus method comes in?
Exactly. The first step the video points out is awareness.
Okay.
It's recognizing that this mental resistance is totally natural. It's not a sign of personal failing.
Oh, good.
We all experience it.
Okay.
The key is to stop beating ourselves up for it
Right.
and start trying to understand it.
Okay, so that makes me feel a bit better already.
Yeah.
It's not just me.
No.
But, knowing that my mind is a wild monkey
Right.
doesn't magically make it like calm and focused.
Yeah.
How do we actually get to that point?
Well, the video dives into this really interesting concept from Taoism
Okay.
called Wu Wei,
Wu Wei.
which translates to non-resistance or effortless action. It's about working with the natural flow of life
Okay.
instead of constantly fighting against it.
Okay.
There's this fantastic quote from Lao Tzu that the video highlights. He says, "By letting it go, it all gets done."
That's a little counterintuitive, isn't it?
Yeah.
How can letting go actually lead to accomplishing things?
It's not about giving up on your goals at all,
Okay.
but it's rather about approaching them with
Uh-huh.
a sense of ease and acceptance instead of force and pushing.
Okay.
Imagine you're trying to row a boat upstream
Uh-huh.
against a really strong current.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
I'm over.
You're barely moving forward.
Right.
But if you turn the boat and align yourself with the current, you'll move effortlessly.
So it's more about finding that like sweet spot, that flow state,
Yeah.
where effort feels natural and not strained.
Precisely.
Okay.
The video shows how Gohan, after initially struggling with this concept,
Yeah.
this kind of breakthrough,
Mm-hmm.
he realizes that he's been approaching his tasks with so much force and resistance
Oh,
that he's actually creating more obstacles for himself.
wow. I'm definitely starting to see how this relates to my own experiences.
Yeah.
But how does Gohan actually put this Wu Wei into practice?
Right.
I'm picturing a lot of deep breathing,
Sure.
maybe some yoga poses.
Well, while deep breathing and yoga can definitely be helpful for finding that inner calm,
Okay.
the video focuses more on a mental shift.
Uh-huh.
Gohan starts by simply acknowledging the resistance that he feels
Okay.
without judgment.
So instead of getting frustrated and giving up,
Yeah.
he observes those feelings of like, I don't want to do this,
Right.
and just lets them be.
Exactly. He
Yeah.
stops labeling those feelings as bad or unproductive,
Yeah.
and he starts seeing them as simply part of the process. And from that place of acceptance, he can then start exploring ways to work with the resistance instead of against it.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Good.
So awareness is step 1.
Right.
And embracing this concept of Wu Wei or going with the flow is step 2.
Yes.
What comes next in this Lotus Method journey?
Well, in the video, Gohan's next challenge is learning to quiet his mind.
Okay.
That's where things get really interesting.
I have a feeling this is where meditation comes in.
Yes.
I've tried it before,
Okay.
but my mind always seems to race even faster when I try to be still.
That's a really common experience,
Yeah.
but the video actually addresses that head on
Okay.
using a concept from Zen Buddhism called Zazen, which is a form of sitting meditation.
Oh, interesting. So Gohan's going full-on monk mode now.
Not quite.
Okay.
But he does start exploring the power of stillness and how it can actually lead to greater clarity and focus.
Okay.
The video shares this incredible quote from Zen Master Dogen, and it's, "If you can't find the truth right where you are, where else do you expect to find it?"
Wow. That's pretty profound.
Yeah.
It's like this reminder that everything we need is already within us.
It is.
But how does like sitting in silence actually help us access that truth?
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
Our minds are constantly bombarded with information, distractions, internal chatter.
It's like trying to have a conversation in a crowded, noisy room.
Exactly.
You can barely hear yourself think.
You can't.
Okay.
But when we practice Saizen, we create this space of stillness. It's like stepping out of that noisy room and into a quiet garden. It allows us to tune out the external noise and become aware of our own thoughts and feelings.
Okay. I'm starting to see the appeal.
Good.
But I'm also getting flashbacks to those times I tried meditation, and I ended up thinking about grocery lists.
Right.
And what to watch on Netflix.
Yes.
How do we actually achieve that focused stillness?
It takes practice. Okay.
And the video emphasizes that it's not about achieving this completely blank mind, but rather learning to observe our thoughts without getting carried away by them.
So instead of getting frustrated when those thoughts pop up, we just acknowledge them.
Yes.
And gently redirect our attention back to our breath or whatever we're focusing on.
Precisely.
Okay.
And the more we practice, the easier it becomes to cultivate that inner stillness. In the video, Gohan finds that even short bursts of Zazen throughout the day help him feel more centered and focused.
I'm definitely willing to give it another shot.
Right.
So we've got awareness, embracing the flow, and cultivating stillness. What's the next step in this Lotus Method journey?
We'll have to find out after the break.
Yeah.
We've been exploring this really intriguing Lotus Method. It's this blend of Eastern philosophy and practical techniques. And it's designed to kind of help you tame your mind and conquer your goals.
So far, we've uncovered the power of awareness, embracing the flow, and cultivating stillness through practices like Zazen. But as you might imagine, achieving true focus and reaching your full potential requires more than just inner peace. It demands action.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You can't just meditate your way to success, right?
Right.
At some point, you need to get up and actually do something.
Exactly. The video we're discussing really emphasizes that stillness is not about passivity.
Okay.
It's about creating a foundation for intentional, focused action. Think of it like this.
Okay.
You can't build a house on shaky ground. You need a solid base.
So that inner calm we've been cultivating through Wu Wei and Zazen, that's our solid ground.
Precisely. And from that strong foundation, we can then take clear, purposeful action.
Right.
The video uses a fascinating example to kind of illustrate this point. The Shaolin monks.
Okay, so we're going from Zen gardens to martial arts now.
Right.
This Lotus Method is full of surprises.
But think about it. The Shaolin monks are renowned for their incredible discipline, focus, and mastery of both physical and mental strength.
It's true.
They embody this harmony between stillness and action.
So they're not just meditating all day. They're also honing their skills. Putting those mindful movements into practice.
Exactly. The video suggests that we can learn a lot from this approach. It's not about choosing between stillness or action. It's about finding that balance, that sweet spot where one complements the other.
I'm starting to see how this all ties together.
Yeah.
So we quiet the mind through stillness practices like Zazen.
Right.
And then we channel that focus and clarity
Yes.
into intentional action inspired by those disciplined Shaolin monks.
Exactly.
But I have to admit, even with the bundled intentions and a clear mind, I sometimes struggle with patience, especially when results don't come as quickly as I'd like.
Patience.
Yeah.
The eternal struggle.
Yeah.
The video actually dedicates an entire section to this.
Oh, good.
And it's where the Lotus part of the Lotus Method really comes into play.
Okay, I'm ready for a good metaphor. Hit me with that lotus wisdom.
Imagine a lotus flower.
Okay.
It starts as a tiny seed buried deep in the mud, at the bottom of a pond.
Okay.
It slowly pushes its way through the darkness, facing obstacles and resistance, before finally emerging on the surface and blooming into this beautiful flower.
It's like a symbol of resilience and perseverance.
Exactly. And the key takeaway here is that the lotus doesn't rush the process.
Okay.
It trusts the natural unfolding, knowing that it will bloom when the time is right.
So this is about more than just waiting patiently for things to happen.
Yeah.
It's about trusting the journey even when it feels slow or challenging.
Precisely. The video suggests that we can apply this same principle to our own lives.
Okay.
When we embrace patience, we let go of the need to control every outcome.
Right.
And instead, we allow things to unfold in their own time.
That's easier said than done, right?
It is.
Especially in today's world of instant gratification.
Yeah.
Where everything seems to move at warp speed.
It does.
How do we actually cultivate that lotus-like patience?
Well, the video offers a few really helpful suggestions.
Right.
One is to shift our focus from the end goal to the process itself. Instead of constantly thinking about when will I get there, we can try to find joy and satisfaction in the small steps we take each day.
So celebrating those little wins along the way.
Yes.
Instead of just fixating on the finish line.
Exactly. Another suggestion is to practice gratitude for what we already have.
Oh, okay.
When we focus on what's going right, it's easier to stay patient and trusting when things aren't happening exactly as we planned.
That's a great reminder.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in what we lack that we forget to appreciate all the good stuff.
It is.
So we've got awareness, embracing the flow, cultivating stillness, taking action, and practicing patience. That covers all 5 parts of the Lotus Method, right?
Right. You got it. And as the video beautifully illustrates, these 5 parts work together like petals of a lotus, creating this powerful and holistic approach to personal growth and achievement.
This has been so insightful. I'm already feeling inspired to incorporate some of these principles into my own life.
Great.
But I have to ask, is this just about individual transformation?
Okay.
Or does the Lotus Method have a broader impact?
That's a great question. And one, the video directly addresses in its conclusion.
Oh, okay.
And to understand the answer, we have to come back to that image of the lotus flower blooming on the surface of the pond. Remember how we talked about those ripples spreading outward?
Right. So it's not just about what's happening below the surface.
Yeah.
It's about how that growth impacts the world around us.
Precisely. The video suggests that as we cultivate inner peace and clarity through the Lotus Method, we naturally radiate those positive qualities outward, like ripples spreading across the pond.
So it's like that saying, be the change you want to see in the world.
Exactly. The video emphasizes that this doesn't require grand gestures or heroic efforts. It's about those small, everyday acts of kindness. Compassion and understanding.
So like holding the door for someone.
Right.
Offering a genuine compliment or simply listening attentively when someone needs to talk.
Exactly.
Those seemingly small things can actually make a big difference.
Absolutely. The video concludes with this powerful message. The Lotus Method isn't just about personal growth. It's about recognizing that our individual journeys are interconnected with the well-being of others. As we cultivate inner peace and clarity, we naturally contribute to a more harmonious and compassionate world.
That's a beautiful thought. It reminded me of the quote, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
So the more we focus on our own growth and well-being, the more we can positively impact the world around us.
Precisely. And that's the ultimate takeaway of the Lotus Method. It's a journey of self-discovery, personal transformation, and ultimately creating positive change in the world.
I love that. This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I'm feeling inspired and ready to embrace those Lotus Method principles.
That's fantastic to hear. And remember, like the lotus flower, our growth unfolds in its own time. Be patient with yourself. Trust the process and keep cultivating that inner peace and clarity.
Great advice. We've covered a lot today.
We have.
But before we wrap up this deep thought into the Lotus Method, there's one last important piece we need to discuss. The final and perhaps most crucial step in integrating these principles into your life. We've been deep in thought about this Lotus Method, haven't we?
We have.
It's been fascinating to unpack these 5 core parts.
It has.
Awareness going with the flow, that stillness, through practices like Zazen, taking mindful action, and then, of course, patience. That lotus flower metaphor really stuck with me.
It's
But you mentioned a final piece. A crucial step for actually integrating this into our lives. What is it?
It's interesting because the video doesn't explicitly label it as like a sixth step or anything.
Okay.
But it's woven throughout the whole narrative. It's the idea of finding your own path within the Lotus Method.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal.
Exactly. The video really emphasizes that these principles are meant to be adapted to your unique personality, circumstances, and goals.
Right.
It's like a framework, not a rigid set of rules.
I like that. It makes it feel more approachable, less intimidating.
Yeah.
But how do we actually go about personalizing this method?
Right.
Where do we even begin?
Well, the video suggests starting with self-reflection.
Okay.
Take some time to really think about what resonates most with you from these 5 parts.
Okay.
Which principle do you feel most drawn to? Which one feels the most challenging?
So for me, I think embracing the flow, that wu-wei concept, really speaks to me. But stillness and meditation, that's definitely a work in progress.
And that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
The key is to kind of honor where you are in your journey. Maybe you start by incorporating more wu-wei into your work life, experimenting with different approaches to tasks and seeing what feels most natural and effortless.
And maybe for someone else, their focus is on cultivating patience.
Yeah.
Instead of getting frustrated when things don't go according to plan,
Right.
they practice acceptance and trust in the timing of things.
Exactly. It's about creating a Lotus method that works for you.
Okay.
And the video also emphasizes that this is an ongoing process. As you grow and evolve. So too will your approach to these principles.
It's like that final image in the video.
Yeah.
The lotus flower in full bloom.
Right.
But still connected to its roots, grounded in the mud from which it grew.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful reminder that growth is continuous.
It is.
It's about finding that balance between striving and acceptance.
Perfectly said. And I think that's the ultimate message of the Lotus Method.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about achieving some perfect state of enlightenment or productivity, but rather about embracing the journey of self-discovery and growth.
This has been such a thought-provoking conversation.
Good.
I feel like I have a whole new toolkit for approaching my goals.
Yeah.
And navigating life's challenges with more grace and intention.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, like, the lotus flower?
Yeah.
You have the potential to bloom even in the midst of challenges. Trust the process, be patient with yourself, and keep exploring what the Lotus Method means for you.
Thank you to all our listeners for joining us on this deep thought into the Lotus Method.
Yes.
We hope you found it as insightful as we did.
Absolutely. And if you'd like to explore this concept further, we've included some links in the episode description.
Great.
Including a link to that YouTube video.
Perfect.
That inspired this whole conversation.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Deep Thought Podcast for more deep thoughts into fascinating topics.
Yes.
And be sure to check out our other podcasts in the network for even more thought-provoking content.
Great.
Until next time, keep those minds curious and keep striving to bloom just like the lotus flower.